Hello and welcome to Blackman's Bay Studios, and in our latest of our mini-sodes we make a slight departure away from particular individuals and families, isn't that right, Keith?
We are, and we're going to be talking about the Footscray Social Club. Now I know there's, I suppose most of the people on the Cray would have gone down there at some stage, wouldn't they?
Well, I would think so, but a lot of people would be surprised how many people turn their noses up at working men's clubs and conservative clubs as well, remember, but St Paul's Cray was very lucky because they had one of each within easy travelling distance, and Footscray Social Club was a bloody good club, wasn't it? Well,
it was, you know, in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, it hummed, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even get in the place.
Oh no, it was a fantastic night out in there.
See, the club moved from round the corner where the old horse trough was, you know, the old, almost like a wooden hut, and then they moved round the corner. And one of the problems is that the committee didn't move with the times.
No.
You know, you still had these old boys who thought they were running a little drinking hole instead of actually running, which turned out to be, I think in the 70s there, it was turning over £750,000 a year. You know, but had by far the biggest beer sales of any Whitbread club in Kent.
Yeah,
it was huge. You know?
When did they used to pass their? Because a club gets a lot of benefits, obviously with more beer they sell from the brewery, and they get bonuses which helps them out at Christmas. So, when did they pass the targets for their Christmas?
They passed the targets in June, and then they would order and pay for with it the Christmas beer with that money.
Yeah.
So all the Christmas stuff was
it's all 100% profit.
Was all 100% profit. Yeah. You know.
And if you add to that the two one-armed bandits they had in there,
which run all the wages.
Yeah. The club was really affluent, wasn't it? It really had a lot of money.
Yeah. And I think one of the we're talking about those committee members who are a bit small-minded, I suppose, and the doorman. You know, years ago, you get 60s and 70s, you couldn't get in a place.
I know.
You know,
it's a bit of a tradition with working men's clubs where you have the little old boy on the door who won't let anybody in unless he's absolutely certain that you're legit.
He's the man. And
any doubt at all, you don't get in.
That's right.
And Footscray was no different, was it?
That's right. And they also had a rule in them days that you had to go in with the member. You couldn't call somebody from the bar to actually come and sign you in. They wouldn't let that because that was actually outside of the your CIU rules and regulations. You know, I'm on committee. You know, up there like that. Anyway. Yeah. But I was on the committee, wasn't I?
Yeah. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I was on the committee for a few years, and look, some of the things that went on the committee. You're bearing in mind now, you're talking at a time when the club was turning over, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds. I sat in the committee room one night and we were talking about, you know, every month they go through the books, go through the finances, and then every year there's a full committee meeting to discuss everything. This old boy sat down there and he said, I've gone through the figures. He said, I want to know, because if you remember there used to be a payphone by the front door, you know, which is a telecom or GPO in them days, GPO telephone. He said, I want to know why the payphone don't make a profit. What? He said, I want to know why the phone don't make a profit. He said, well, it ain't ours, is it? You know. He wanted to charge the GPO for putting a boxy phone in there. He's got no chance, has he? Right? And then there was, the classic bloke on the committee, there was Billy Hills.
Billy Hill, yeah.
Somebody ripped the billiard cloth. There's some lovely tables down here.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And ripped the cloth. And we're serious now. I mean, I know you could tell it as a joke, but it's serious. Bill said at a committee meeting, he said, "Can't we just turn the cloth over?"
And someone said, "I think it's ripped on both sides, Bill." Yeah.
Oh, he was a Yorkshireman. Or was he Lancashire? Yorkshire, oh God, he was thick as two planks.
What about the chicken with the lemon?
Well, we went over to we got tickets to go over to see Tommy Cooper. over at the Circus Tavern. And all of the committee went over, and we got the tickets because of the amount of work we used to do with the Jolly Friar. So all of the functions, all of the suppers at the functions, always supplied by Jolly Friar in your box, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And we go over the Turkish Tavern was Tommy Cooper. It was brilliant. Like, it was funny. And they gave us for our meal your chicken in a box. See? And you know those lemon wipes that you tear them out and you can wash your hands with them. You know.
Yeah.
Billy Hills gets hold of his, opens it up and squeezes it on his fucking chicken.
Yeah. Man of the world.
Oh, you know. I mean, he's like a.
Yeah. But
Yeah, cool.
let's not forget the man in charge of the entertainment, Charlie Farragut.
Yeah, yeah.
Who had the most amazing trousers you've ever seen, didn't he? Where'd they come up to?
Didn't have a waistband. They started here back in.
With his braces.
Yes.
Great big gut sticking out, didn't he?
Yeah. And some of the entertainment. I mean, I used to get some good entertainment down there, but some of it, you know, Del Remo. He was on it. He was almost like a permanent band member, wasn't he? And
well, yeah, Crispian St.
Christian Peters used to go down there.
Colt 45.
Yeah. There was a group called Gambler who were very good. They had a fantastic singer, and I went in there one night and they were, you know, there was a sign up saying it's X. And when I said, that's Gambler, isn't it? And Terry Wallace said to me, it used to be. He said they changed the name. He said every year or every few years, he said these groups change the name for tax purposes, so the old tax men don't come up. But we went down to see, I think it was down at Brighton. Went down to see Joe Brown and his brothers, and the group Gambler was his brothers.
Yeah, they do the rounds, don't they? Yeah.
Oh, no. So what about old Percy Blazer? You got a bit of a stuff about him?
Yeah, I had a bit of a run-in with Percy. I used to go in the club a hell of a lot, but I wasn't a member. And then all of a sudden they started having members-only evenings, and I think it was half-price beer and things like that. And as a non-member, I wasn't allowed in there. So Ray Slater said to me, I'll go in and then I'll pass my card out to you and then you come in. So I went in there with the bird I was going out with at the time, and obviously it was a silly idea, wasn't it? Because they knew I weren't a member, and I was collared by one of the committee members, taken over to Percy Blazier. And he said, you're not a member, are you? And I went, no. And he said, I'm the secretary of the club. And he got his tie and he was flicking it like this at me. I said, you don't have to flick your tie. I said, you don't have to do that. I said, I know I'm not a member. I was more concerned for Ray Slater. I didn't want him to get into trouble. So we was asked to leave and we went over the red line, and the way I got round it was I saw Bill Beach and said to him, Bill, can you get me a membership? And I think within a couple of days he said, go down there. I've proposed just someone else's second in, and I was in. Yeah. And I was a member, official member for over 30 years, I think.
Yeah. And me and Percy Blaze never got along, never. And when your subs are due, you get about 30 days to pay your membership. Yeah. And I never paid mine, and I held on. And it was coming to the end of the 30 days, and Blazier said to old Bill Beach, I've got him. I've got him. He ain't gonna come down there, because they knew I was playing darts all the week, you know. And he said, yeah, I know he ain't gonna come down, but on the night that it ran out, or the night before it ran out, I went in there and played. And the look on Blazer's face was going, oh, you bastard, you know. Yeah. Because he was. He was funny. He, like I say, he was like, oh, I'm on the committee, and you know. And there was a lot of people like that back in them days.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It improved a lot over the years, didn't it? I mean.
Well, you had Nigger Rose. Remember Nigger Rose, who worked, you know, he was the old steward.
Are you allowed to say that word?
Well, that was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Eh? Yeah. What do you want me to call him?
Are you going to get banned off of Facebook?
I reckon I probably will. You know, and old Nigger, I mean, I don't know if he's still got friends and or relations out now, but he was definitely having a dip. You know, they got rid of him for having a dip down at the old club, down the club round the corner, and then they hired him back. And you know, after a while, they got him back behind the bar. God, you know. Yeah.
And then when Sandy Redpath came in, he took over as secretary of the club. He was very good, wasn't he?
Yes.
Very astute man.
Oh, like I say, the profit that the club was pumping out in them days was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, he was the right man to be in charge as well. So things improved a lot, didn't they?
We're talking about the members only nights. The club had Mike Reed booked to come down and do a show. Now the tickets never went on sale. Never went on sale, and they all sold. And I was a member at the time. And not a member of the committee, but I was a member of the club. And I found about Mike Reed going, and I said to Terry Waller, I said, when the tickets go on sale, he said, oh, they've all gone. I said, what do you mean I said, they must have gone on sale. He said, well, they all sold beforehand. I said, what do you mean before? So obviously your committee men are saying, you have them, you have them, you have them, like, you know. And I caused such a stink over it. And I was, because I was actually ropeable, you know. I caused such a stink. In the end, Percy Blazer came up to me and he said, I know you've been, you know, a bit upset. He said, look, there's 2 tickets, you know, don't go on about it, you know, because I suppose I was just embarrassing them, and rightly so.
Yeah, of course.
And rightly so. Anyway, got these 2 tickets. I go home. I said to the old man, I've got 2 tickets to see Mike Reed. He went, oh. He was my dad's favourite comedian, Mike Reed. And he said, I wouldn't mind going and seeing him. Now, I never saw my old man ever go out. Never. You know?
Yeah.
And he said, I wouldn't mind going and seeing him. He said, can you get any more tickets? He said, I wouldn't mind taking Gene, you know, Gene Barton. He said, I wouldn't mind taking Gene down there. So I tried, couldn't get any. And because I'd never seen him go out, I said to him, you have my tickets, you know, because I can go and see Mike Reed any time I like, you know. So I gave him my tickets, and he went, well, the following Friday in the club, or the Friday week in the club, you know, my name was absolutely mud. And Terry Waller wouldn't talk to me for a month, you know. And they come up and said, you go, yeah, like that, and you never turned up, and you gave your tickets away. And so I said, what's a bloke to do, you know? When you explain the situation, they, you know, that went on.
So what about some of the members now? On a regular basis, me and Keith used to go down there, Kenny Osborne, the Rick Woods, Mickey Johnson.
Well, the Rick Woods took over the club.
Yeah, and then you'd get, Ray Slater was regular, then you'd have Roger Elsey, Barry Wheeler, and pretty much a lot of the Partridge Bob used to get down there. And it was a great night out, wasn't it? Outside you had people like Bill Beach and Harry Jenkins, that little mob out there, didn't you?
We'll talk about Harry in a minute.
Yeah, Roger Smith, of course. There's a funny story about Roger Smith.
Let me just say this. Funny enough, that story I just told about Mike Reed. First time I ever met Roger Smith was at a stag night, and Mike Reed was the compere. And it was over the Parkhouse Rugby Club over at Bromley. And I don't know if you know about Parkhouse Rugby Club.
Yeah, of course.
And it was in their new clubhouse. And just to show you how these places take the piss, this is a brand new clubhouse, and Mike Reed was basically did a bit of an opening for them, or, you know, a few weeks after it opened. They had a picture on the wall of the old clubhouse. They had a picture on the wall of the old clubhouse burning down. They had a picture on the wall of the insurance certificate that ran out the day after the fire, you know, and then a picture of the new clubhouse. You know, I mean, talk about take the piss of it, you know. Anyway, go back to the story. So we get there really early, me and Kenny, and we're up the bar telling jokes to Mike Reed. This is a true story. Telling jokes to Mike Reed. And Smith walks in, Roger comes in, and because you heard him before he came in. He got out the car park and you could hear him. And he came in and he's standing, there was 3 of them, and I'd never met Roger, never met him before in my life. And he came in, there's 3 of us there having a chat with Mike Reed, having a bit of a laugh and a joke, you know, because Mike Reed, funny enough, had heard every joke that we told him.
Of course he did,
And anyway, so that was, and in the end, Roger, he stood at the back and he was laughing that much. Mike Reid took the piss out of him because you couldn't hear anybody saying anything because he was laughing. He was almost tears down his face, you know. I mean, Mike Reid was funny, wasn't he? You know.
Well, his father-in-law was Bill Beach, and when they had Bernard Manning down the club, I was standing there and Roger was there and he's talking about Bernard Manning come down, and Bill Beach said to him, "Listen here, I want to hear all the jokes, not just the first one." Because that's how he was, wasn't it? He had such a... Roger Smith was, what, 6'3"? Something like that.
Yeah.
Big, hulking, big man with a big booming voice and a massive, massive laugh.
Oh, it was incredible.
So, what character did he come down the club as in the fancy dress evening? Fancy dress evening, yeah.
He comes down dressed as the Hulk, right? Yeah. Dressed as the Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk, yeah.
And he looked like him and all, didn't he? I mean, you've got to say, you know.
Perfect.
He had all the ripped trousers on and the ripped, you know, what's that? And I think Pebbles smeared him with green food dye, didn't she?
Yeah. Instead of the grease paint, I used food colouring.
It took him 2 or 3 weeks to wash it off.
Yeah,
he had to go dressed as the Hulk.
Yeah, it was all green for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's like I say, he's not somebody that you might not notice, is he?
No, he's not.
What about the women of the club in the bingo nights?
Oh yeah, because you had the bingo night, and you only had 2 one-armed bandits out in the bar. And a lot of the women that played bingo liked to play the one-armed bandits, didn't they?
Yep.
So what about when the bingo finished?
Yeah, but there was a stampede, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, there was a stampede to see who could get. As soon as that last number was pulled out of the hat, or the last ball went down the bingo, as soon as that happened, there was whoomp. And if you stood in the way, mate, you get yourself knocked out the way. Yeah. Anyway, so they were only shilling machines. They weren't the big, you know, things like they got these days. They're only just I can't remember what the jackpot was now. It was only about a £5, wasn't it?
Yeah, that weren't a small amount of money in those days.
No, true, but it's nowhere near what they get these days.
It gradually crept up as well, didn't it? So.
Yeah, and these women, in the end, when we was on the committee, we limited them to 20 pulls per person. So, and there was none of these push buttons. It was all you had to pull your handle, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them had RSI, didn't they? You know, doing it like that. Yeah. So we limited to the 20, and the rows, you know, somebody put their 20th coin in and pulled and got nothing, and then the first person came out, pulled and got a jackpot. You know, that's my money. I pulled that in there. Oh, you know,
you're bound to get it though, isn't you?
Yeah. And then somebody would get 2 cherries up on the last ball and say, I just want this one, just, you know, and get off of there. And there was, in the end, I think we had to almost man them, you know, like, had to be a committee member. Yeah. They had to, you know.
Women were the worst, weren't they?
Oh, they were terrible.
Definitely the worst.
They were terrible, you know. Yeah. But once they got over that initial bit on a Sunday night, you know, it only lasted for, you know, I don't know, half an hour. Because then they all went back to have a dance, didn't they?
Yeah.
Eh? And all the old girls there doing the Butlins waltz long before I'd ever seen line dancing.
That's right. Yeah, I used to call it the Footscray Club dance.
Yeah, it was like
line dancing. Yeah.
I think that's what they did at Butlins.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned him earlier. We talked about Harry Jenkins.
Yeah, old man Jenkins. Yeah, he had some stories to tell, didn't he? He was a bit of a ducker and diver, wasn't he?
Yeah, Welsh.
Yeah.
And well, you know, I don't know what he was like in his youth, but he reckoned he could punch anybody's lights out, and all the young blokes, wouldn't he? Yeah. You know. And he liked to accentuate everything he said by moving his shoulders like this, and he used to flap he always had a jacket on, he used to flap it like this, and he'd be going like this and flapping his jacket for some reason. I don't know why. Giving Del Boy with the edge, you know, giving it low like that, you know.
Oh, he had loads of stories to tell,
didn't he?
He could, about what, he reckons he was standing in the Red Line one day, and this is during the war somewhere, or just before the war, and a bloke came in and and he was all emaciated, and Harry had been posted out to somewhere in Africa. And he said, "Where you been then?" And he said, "I've just come back from some place where Harry was going." And he said he looked so bad, he said, I went on the run, and he lived on a train for months. So, I mean, he had loads of stories like that, but whether they were true or not, I don't know, but he could tell a great story.
Yeah. Well, that was the Footscray Club. But I mean, you know, obviously, once you're a member of the Footscray, you're actually a member nationally of the National
CIU,
National CIU, and I remember one night I was in the CIU. Used to have a darts Kent CIU singles, and we used to play pairs and everything. But in the singles one night, I was in the semi-final. It was a semi-final, and I played a bloke named Clary Woods from the Crayford Workmen's Club. And Crayford Workmen's Club, bigger club than Footscray, and had a nice dart area. Anyway, so I was there playing darts. I played this Clary Wood. It was on a Friday night. And once the darts had finished, band got up and, like normally, started playing the music. And me and Kenny was there. There's a few others there. You weren't there, I don't think.
No,
there
I
was,
weren't. No,
I think Slater came down, and Barry Wheeler, and Chrissy Larkins was there because he used to get down the Crayford Club as well. Anyway, had an open mic, and anybody could get up and sing. And we're just standing there having a laugh and a joke, you know, and there's a big crowd of us. And all of a sudden this geezer gets on the mic and he said, "Now we're going to have, you know, Joe Blow's going to get up and sing, and all the locals are giving it large, yeah, go on, you know." And he gets up on the mic and he goes, this is true, gospel true, and he starts singing and he goes, "Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight?" And I couldn't talk, you know. I just could not talk. I had tears coming down here like that. Actually, I think Trevor Hall was with us. You know what Trevor's like.
Yeah.
I think Trevor Hall almost collapsed. You know, you said about him laughing before.
Yeah.
And you know, I was just flabbergasted by the whole thing, like, you know.
Yeah.
God.
Talking about things, women and that down the club, really must mention about an incident that happened down there one night. Now the club had the same problem as every other pub and club, is what do you do to get the punters in during the week, especially on a Tuesday. So what the club did, they decided to have a wrestling night, because wrestling was very, very popular, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To try and get the punters in. So they got a promoter to bring down some wrestlers and have 4 or 5 bouts or whatever. The first bout came on, and in the audience was a woman named Dolly Grist. Now, Dolly,
Siddy's missus,
yeah, Siddy Grist's wife. I don't ever remember a time where Dolly didn't look like a middle-aged grandmother. Do you?
No.
I mean, she always did.
Yeah.
Very short woman, very broad as well, and she really took wrestling seriously. I mean, we've been to a couple of wrestling matches, haven't we? They're a great entertainment, but let's be fair, it's a charade, and you just enjoy the evening. You shouldn't take it seriously. But Dolly did, didn't she? Anyway, it was the usual formula. You know, you got your good guy and the bad guy, and the bad guy's breaking all the rules and he's hurting the good guy, and the referee seems to be turning a blind eye to it. And Dolly's getting more and more wound up as the fight goes on. Anyway, the bell went for a round, the end of a round. Dolly gets in the ring, picks up the spit bucket and attacks the bad guy. And it got a couple in on his head with this metal bucket. Anyway, there's pandemonium, you know. She's pulled off, the referee...
Like the end of a Muhammad Ali fight. Yeah.
That's it, end of the bout. The wrestlers run to the dressing room, and then the promoter come out and said, "That's it, no more." They found that the Footscray Club was too dangerous for professional wrestlers.
I think on that note, Vic,
there is one thing we'd like to say before we go.
Oh yeah, we never mentioned him, did we?
Now,
Terry.
If ever you go down to any club anywhere in the country, those clubs exist because there's people in there that are willing to give up their time to help run the club. And there's one person that we'd like to pay tribute to now, and that's Terry Waller.
Yeah.
Because we were members for 30 years, and I don't ever remember a time where Terry wasn't doing something for the club in some capacity.
Or wasn't even in it. You know, he was there every night, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the money he put over the bar was phenomenal, but nevertheless, he did a lot of hard work for the club. So I don't know if Terry's the sort of bloke that would see this on Facebook or anywhere else, but Terry, if ever you see this, there's two blokes here that really appreciate what you've done, so thanks very much, mate. Terry
Waller, British crib champion, pairs champion, didn't he?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Won that last year.
Yeah.
And another thing about Terry, he always had, whenever you saw him, he always had about half a dozen 8 pints on the bar, didn't he?
Yeah, because what he used to do, as the clock ticked towards 11 o'clock and the end of the evening, he would get extra pints in. So when the 11 o'clock bell went, no more service, he would have at least 8 pints lined up.
Yeah,
he would have more booze lined up that he had to finish off than we'd had all evening.
Yeah, that's right.
So once again, Terry, thanks for all your hard work. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I think that's about it, don't you, Kate?
Yes, I reckon that's it. Till we do the next one?
Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Ta-da.
Bye.
This has been a Blackman's Bay studio production.